I gotta try that.
It's really good. And then this is oh my goodness, that is this Six Rivers is Cheri while they're waiting. Ice cream. So that's 3 or 4 different kinds.
Oh wow! You know what is it?
Good evening. Hi, how's the sound? Can you hear? All right. Welcome tonight. Thank you all for coming. My name is Erica Guevara-Blackwell. I'm the new program manager for Zero Waste Humboldt. This is our second event in our 2016 Zero Waste Solutions Series. So let's start with some important acknowledgements. The generous sponsors for our entire 2015 to 2016 Zero Waste Solutions Series are Lost Coast Brewery, Coast Central Credit Union, and the Footprint Foundation. Tonight's event has been supported by Monument Mountain Vineyards, Humboldt Made, the North Coast Co-op, Elizabeth Hans Macron, Arias Bakery, Cypress Grove Chev, Six Rivers Brewery, Renata's Creperie, Scrap Humboldt, Trinity River Vineyards, Fetzer Vineyards, Bryceland Vineyards, so many good local companies coming out to support this event. So thank you to all of you. And last but not least, our dedicated volunteers that really help put these events together. So thank you to our volunteers. I'd like to ask our board members to stand for our wave from the back. We have Tracy Jordan French, right here in front. Brett Watson, over here on the side. Dr. Julie Layshock in the back. Nancy Stevens, there she is in the middle. And Maggie Gaynor. Please feel free to introduce yourself to these board members if you want to learn more or to get involved in Zero Waste. We're so glad you're here tonight, and we encourage you to join the next 3 events on Zero Waste Solutions. February's event will be here, this location, with our featured speaker, chemistry lecturer and environmental toxicologist, Julie Layshock, one of our fine board members. And she will discuss some eye-opening clarifications on the compostable, biodegradable, and recyclable claims of plastics. So now, Maggie will introduce you to this evening's topics and our featured speakers.
Thanks, Erica. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm so glad to see you all here. I'm going to look at notes so that I stay on point here. The zero waste approach is fairly new in Humboldt County. Those of us working in this field around the country for a while have become concerned that the zero waste methodology and standards will soon turn to green marketing mush, and that the zero waste brand will start to be used incorrectly. So thankfully, the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council now provides a zero waste certification process and a zero waste training program for professionals. We're pleased to announce tonight that the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council has accepted our invitation to come up to Humboldt in October to provide this one-day training on zero waste. It's a one-day course. So Zero Waste Humboldt has a scholarship fund to encourage locals to take this training. Maureen Hart and I have gone through the training and it's excellent. Where's Maureen? Yeah, and if you're interested to learn more, at the table right in front when you first walk in, just sign up and we'll be sure to get in contact with you. Tonight's presentations are about 2 inspiring companies that went through the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council's process to achieve zero waste status. And we're really fortunate that our presenters are the individuals that led these companies through this process. When Maureen and I toured Sierra Nevada Brewing Company's facility, we were really impressed by what they had accomplished and by Cheri Chastain, the company's sustainability manager. Cheri has been with Sierra Nevada for 9 years and is responsible for educating employees on environmental issues, and programs, maintaining current policies and projects, and working on new projects for renewable energy management, managing zero waste efforts, researching and implementing alternative fuel options, and working on water conservation. Sierra Nevada was recognized as the first platinum level zero waste facility by the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council in October 2013. Cheri is currently a member of the City of Chico's Sustainability Task Force, the Brewers Association Sustainability Subcommittee Chair, and a board member of the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council. She has a BA and an MA in Environmental Geography. Josh Prigge, am I pronouncing it correctly, is the Sustainability Manager at Fetzer Vineyards, where he's led the development, tracking, and implementation of sustainability projects and investigates innovations to further Fetzer's position as a sustainability leader in the wine industry. Previously, Josh worked for 4 years as a sustainability coordinator at Hawaii Pacific University in Honolulu. He managed sustainability and energy initiatives for the university, developed sustainability and greenhouse gas emission reports, and received the Hawaii Green Business Award from Hawaii's governor. Josh earned an MBA and an MA in Global Leadership and Sustainable Development. With his leadership in 2014, Fetzer became the first winery to receive zero waste certification. So please help me give Cheri and Josh a warm, humble county welcome. So, yeah, here's.
Hi. I love presentations that I can have a beer at. These are my favorite ones. Thank you all for coming out. This is really exciting that there are so many people here interested in zero waste and wanting to work on zero waste. So you should all give yourselves a big congratulations just for showing up here tonight. So thank you.
I don't know. Oh, this is what we just went through. There we go. Okay, now we go to this.
Ta-da! Okay, so thank you for the introduction, Maggie. Appreciate that. I'm really excited to be here. I love coming to Eureka. I love the coast. I love Humboldt, and I'm really excited to share our zero waste journey and some of the lessons that I've learned along the way with you. I thought a good place to start would be a little bit of history about Sierra Nevada. Is Matt River in the room? This slide's for you. So, Sierra Nevada was founded in 1980 in Chico, California. We were founded by Ken Grossman. Do you recognize that group at all? That's at Mad River. So Ken Grossman founded Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, and when he founded the company, obviously money was tight, small business just getting started. Craft beer was very, very new in the United States, and people were not necessarily willing to invest in such a risky business. So Ken scavenged dairy tanks, dairy stainless steel pipes. He took classes at the local community college in order to actually weld it all together. Resourcefulness and being efficient with resources was founding to our company, not just from an economic perspective out of pure necessity because couldn't afford brand new equipment, but brand new equipment didn't exist for a small brewer at that time. So Ken is to this day incredibly resourceful. Reusing, recycling are just core values to the company. That's who we are. Our boneyard is incredibly impressive because we don't get rid of anything. You might need that to fix something later. So we are now the 7th largest brewer in the United States. We are the 3rd largest craft brewer in the United States, and we're still privately held. We're still privately held by Ken Grossman. His kids have actually now come into a leadership role for the company. But we are still privately held. There's been a lot of mergers in the craft brewing community and a lot of murmur and a lot of buzz and conversation, but haven't been taken over. Yeah, I think so. About 4 years ago, in 2012, we announced that we were building a second brewery on the East Coast. We had reached capacity in Chico, and we're faced with the decision of do we expand in Chico, California, or do we add a different or more capacity in a different part of the country. And it made more sense to build another brewery on the East Coast. Outside of California, New York and Florida are our 2nd and 3rd largest markets. So having that production on the East Coast of the country made a lot more sense for us. Like I said, Ken's kids are now coming into leadership role for the company, so 2 of his kids are involved. Sierra has a leadership role in Chico, and his son Brian moved to North Carolina as a leadership role out there. Just real quick, kind of an idea of, this idea of sustainability, which most of you in the room are probably familiar with it, but I think Sierra Nevada does a really good job of balancing the environmental with the social and the economic in all decisions that we make for the company. So when we move forward with a decision, we're not strictly looking at financial payback. Yes, that is important. I mean, we sell beer. We need to remain a viable business, but in the process, we're paying attention to the environmental impacts of those decisions, as well as the social impacts, the impacts on our employees, as well as our community, and how the decisions that we're making and how we grow, how that impacts our community. We do have a zero waste goal at the brewery. The main drivers behind the goal, we've got our environmental health and economically. Both of those 2 things have social drivers to them. So by improving environmental health, we improve our social health by having clean air, clean water, healthy food. By saving money, we get to enjoy the benefits that the Grossmans offer to us and continue to expand our business. So both of those have social drivers to them, which is, I think, a perfect example of the fact that when you're talking about sustainability, you really can't break apart one from the other. The environmental components with the social components and the financial are so completely intertwined that you can't break those things apart, and all of those need to be considered equally when making decisions. Now at the brewery, when I talk about zero waste, I'm not just talking about the solid waste that goes in the trash can, the compost bin, or the recycling bin. I'm talking about all of the resources that we use within the company. Paper, packaging, energy, water, time, labor, beer, all of these are resources that we have spent money on. If we are wasting any of those resources, we are effectively wasting money. So zero waste, it's a great place to start with solid waste, but really you should start to expand your minds and think really big picture about zero waste and really consciously consider all of the resources that are going into your activities, both personally and professionally. So at the brewery, we really try to expand this thought process and that mindset. Our general approach to sustainability, what we do is we focus on zero waste, and again, it's not limited to the solid waste. It does apply to energy and water and packaging and everything that we're using. We're looking to close loops. So we're looking to take what's leaving the brewery and how can I bring it back into either my process or into somebody else's process locally. So you need to take an audit and take an evaluation of what's coming into your operations and then what's leaving. And then whatever's leaving, first line of attack should be to bring it back in, whether it's electricity or energy, heat energy, packaging materials, bottles, whatever that might be, bring it back into your operations, or find somebody else locally who can use that resource. You got to get in there and you have to put a stake in the ground. You have to audit, you have to benchmark, you have to set up tracking, and I have a lot more information about that here in the coming slides. That is me in the trash can. That's me with my sustainability coordinator, Mandy. You got to get in there. You got to get your hands dirty. You have to do it regularly. That's the only way you're going to know what's going on within your business. Or your home, for that matter. My husband loves it. From there, you can address process changes or behavior changes. But until you have a stake in the ground and until you understand what your benchmark is and what your baseline is, you really won't know if you're making any improvements, right? You can put systems in place, but unless you have a mechanism to track that, you have no idea if what you're doing is impactful. So, nobody starts out perfectly. Yes, Sierra Nevada has a stellar zero waste program. We have achieved platinum level certification from the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council, but we didn't start out that way. Nobody starts out that way. So I love this graph, because this is where that getting in the can and understanding your operations is going to change how you track things. So the red bar up there, 99.5%, 99.8% last year, that red bar is how much we're diverting from landfill, including our spent grain. Now by volume, coming out of a brewery, spent grain is the largest material that's leaving. It's also very heavy. So of course it's going to skew our numbers. So when I first started looking into this in 2006, I realized, let's see what happens when I take spent grain out of it. All of a sudden, we look terrible. Then that's the blue bar. So that blue bar back in 2006, we were right around 55% diversion from landfill. That's when I realized, we're talking about 99% diversion from landfill. Woo! Just kidding, it's actually only 55%. But it gave us a target, and it really helped us understand what was going on within the brewery. It took us about 5 years, but we got that number up to 95%. Last year we hit a 95%. So it is possible. You just have to put a lot of thought into it, put a little bit of effort into it, put some education into it, and I've got a lot of tips to come on how to get that. Does recycling save money? Yes. This is snapshots of last several years. So I've got our diversion from landfill, and that does not include spent grain. So that's cardboard, shrink wrap, concrete, glass bottles, all the different things that we're collecting and recycling from the brewery. The revenue is what we got paid for that. Now, most of that is from cardboard and shrink wrap. Easy things to collect, easy things to get revenue from. The avoided costs, though, that's the huge kicker. So if you would have sent all of that material in that diverted column, if we would have just said, you know what, screw this, just send it to the landfill. I don't want to deal with it, sort it, separate it, touch it, look at it, smell at it, just send it to the landfill. We would have paid lots of money to send that to the landfill, an average of about $200,000 just to put stuff in the landfill. That's absurd. So when I take the revenue plus the avoided costs and then subtract out the cost of services, so what we paid for bin rentals or the waste haulers to get it to the landfill or the recycling facility, our net savings on average is $275,000 a year. I have way more than paid for my salary, along with my entire team's salary. There's 4 of us total in the sustainability department. Leah, raise your hand, she's in the audience, she's one of them. So there's 4 of us. I've well more than paid for our salaries just by having a recycling program. So it does pencil out, it does make economic sense. And if you are paying to send material to the landfill, that's your bad. You should be getting a revenue from that, and you should be bringing down your overall operating expenses by recovering that material. So doing an audit. This was an early audit. This was back in 2012. Question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did this include the restaurant, or are you only talking about the brewery production?
No, restaurant as well. Okay. Yeah, restaurant, brewery, packaging, production, warehouse, maintenance, all of it. Yeah.
When you say restaurant, are you taking all the food scraps from the tables and the napkins?
Yeah, I'll get to that at the end. Yes, we do have a pretty impressive composting program as well. So this was one of the first audits no, it's not one of the first. It was just a couple years ago. We got crazy with the categories. Okay, you do not need to go this insane when you get in the trash can and start sorting and measuring out things. This is overkill. Okay, you don't need to do this. But what we do have here, I think, yeah. So what I did found, this is back in 2012, 23% of our trash cans should have been recycled. Another 20% should have been composted. I thought we had a great program. Everybody's participating, it's hunky-dory, it's great, but then when you actually get in there and do those audits, you realize, no, it's not. So it is a continual process. You can't just do one audit and say, I'm done. You do have to continually do that. So our target is to do it twice a year. To actually get in the trash can and sort through it twice a year. So we kept it a little more simple the next time we did it, but this one was from 2015. So 15% was compostable, 2% was recyclable, which is, that's kind of closer to where we wanted to be, but we realized that we had a lot of work to do on the composting side. So why was so much of our compostable materials ending in the trash? This is a bag out of the dish pit in the restaurant. So, in the restaurant, the plates are scraped, but then there's still stuff kind of stuck to it. And when that's rinsed off in the dish pit, all that kind of centers onto the drain, and then they scoop it out. So it's soaking wet, really heavy, scoop it out, and then they were throwing it in the trash. So we went and talked to them, like, why is this happening? They said, well, we don't have a compost bin. Done. So we gave them a compost bin. Easy. But we never would have known that had we not gotten in the trash can to actually see that. We also, those are all of the cans, bottles, and plastics that we pulled out of the trash can. Unacceptable. Where was it coming from? The break rooms. So we realized, man, we really have to focus on break rooms and do some education in the break rooms. This is ridiculous. How many restaurants are here? Is anybody representing a restaurant? Okay, a couple. What restaurant in the world buys tortillas in an 8-count bag? Who does that? That was in the trash can, but we never would have known that. So we're, digging through it, we're looking at it, and I'm going, why? Why is this happening? So then that allows us to go back into the restaurant and have the conversation with them about the purchasing habits and why are you purchasing in such a small quantity? But again, we never would have known that, and they didn't even think about it. It was just not something that had crossed their mind. Other fun stuff, so we do audit our compost bins. This is all stuff that we pulled out of our compost bins. So those are ramekins, those are little bits of plates, those are silverware, there's a whole bunch of plastics. These are all linen napkins. So pulling this stuff out of our compost and then taking it back to the restaurant and asking them, we had a tracking for a while that we attached a cost to every single one of those. So every month we would go in and say, congratulations, you composted $287 of silverware last month. And then they realize that is reducing their revenue because they're just throwing away their durables that need to stay in service, right? But again, you don't know that unless you get in the bin. So when you're setting up your collections, what we do is we stick to color coding. So we set up a super simple color coding system. It's the easiest trigger for people. I've discovered over the years that people have a real reluctance to reading. It's not something that people want to do, so color coding keeps it a little more simple. We stick with blue for recycle, we have yellow for compost, and then we use either gray or black for landfill. So we try to keep it as color coded as possible. Make sure, even though people don't read, put a label on it anyway, because then they have no excuse for doing the wrong thing. So make sure that everything is clearly labeled. And when I say clearly, keep it short. If you put a novel on your recycling bin, I guarantee you nobody is going to read it. So keep it as short and sweet as possible. Use the buddy system. And when I say that, I mean never leave a bin by itself. If there's a trash can over here and a recycling can over here, but the exit goes this way, nobody's going to walk over there and recycle. I can promise you that. This is more convenient. So if you have your bins together, it increases your chances of recovery. Bins don't have to be expensive. You don't have to go and spend a ton of money to have these things. I mean, you can spray paint a cardboard box. I mean, it'll work. Use what you have, get creative. You don't have to spend a ton of money. I mean, if you have more of a public facing, say you're in a restaurant or a hospitality situation, you might want to spend a little more than a spray painted cardboard box, but you don't have to. So use what you have. On the education part, I mean, we take every single education opportunity that we possibly can through our company newsletter, orientation, trainings, one-on-one trainings, just conversations in the hallway, just passing people in the break room, department meetings. We take every single opportunity out there to educate. If you do not educate, that is like the worst possible thing you could do for your zero waste program. You can't just roll out your buddy system bins and expect everybody to know what you're doing. You have to explain why you're doing it, why it's important for them to contribute, and how they are supposed to participate. And don't get discouraged if things don't work out in your favor. Can anybody read that? No broken dishware. What's that? Broken dishware. Everything, and I took this about 1.5 years ago, okay? It happens. Even in the best of the best of the best situations, you're going to have flaws. Don't get discouraged. Take it as an opportunity to educate, which is what we try to do. So, we'll see this, and I took a picture, and then you go back to managers and supervisors, and they'll post it, and there are ways to communicate around it, but don't get frustrated. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've hit that brick wall head on doing 80 miles an hour. It hurts. So just don't try not to get super frustrated. On the tracking, so really tracking can be super easy. You just look at your invoice. Actually, I take that back. It can get really complicated. So for tracking for us, everything is reliant upon weights. So we need a weight for everything that's leaving the brewery in order to track our diversion efforts. Some of that is given to us by our hauler. If you have a large enough bin, a roll-off, for example, your hauler they have weights on that. No matter where they're taking it, they'll have a trash weight or a recycling weight. If you don't have a weight, there's easy ways to get around that. You can get a little floor scale with a digital readout for like $60. You can get a little handheld scale for like $10 on Amazon, just a little handheld scale, and just weigh the bag as you're taking it out to the trash or recycle or whatever. So there are ways to get around that, but you do need some sort of way to track. By weight is typically how it's done for zero waste. So this is our tracking. So this is our 2015 was the blue bar. That's construction. So, you know, if you're understanding what's going on within your facility, you can look back at a month like that and go, why don't we have that every month? Well, because we don't grind up concrete for recycling every month, and concrete is really heavy. But tracking it allows you to see those spikes and dips, and then you can look at, you know, go back at this and go, well, why was that one so low? Construction again. That was the floor recovering, and the polyurethane and some of the coverings that were used on the floor couldn't do anything with. So tracking allows you to see some of that. Don't forget to educate. It's the #1 most important thing you can do for your zero waste program. This is a real box that I do have in my office. This is in a cupboard in my office, and it is the recycling box of fun. Having examples to show people, you know, the milk cartons, not compostable, they're lined with plastic, and I actually felt really old when I discovered that. I thought they were still, you know, I remember being a kid and scratching off all the wax, you know, on the milk cartons, and that doesn't exist. They're all lined with plastic now, but having those hard examples to show people really, it's a better way to communicate with those more visual people. Don't forget to educate. So one of these things that we do a lot in our break rooms is really practice zero waste and kind of try to preach zero waste as much as possible. So reduce, reuse, recycle, and rot. Those are the 4 R's that'll get you to zero waste. So reduce what you're bringing in the first place by bringing food in reusable containers. Reuse those containers, wash them. We provide dishwashers, soap, sponges, drying racks. Makes it really easy to take it home clean. And then, of course, recycling cans, bottles, and paper, and then composting food, paper products, wood star sticks from coffee, you know, the little compostable stuff. And then, you know, think outside the box. So you get creative with what's leaving your facility. So biodiesel, we have a restaurant. There's about anywhere from 50 to 100 gallons of vegetable oil that comes out of the restaurant every week. We're converting that into biodiesel on site and then using that biodiesel as a source of fuel for our fleet. 50 to 100 gallons of biodiesel a week is a drop in the bucket of our total fuel consumption, but it is 100% of a waste source. So instead of paying to have somebody else truck it off, we're keeping it on site, making biodiesel out of it. It costs us about $1.65 to make a gallon of biodiesel, which is a lot cheaper than diesel out there right now. The machine that we use is made in Chico, so it's a California-made piece of equipment. It paid for itself in about 16 months. Super quick payback. These boxes here, these are the boxes that our 6-packs come in. You know, we could have just baled them and sent them for recycling, but instead we partnered with a food recovery program, and they're using them to, you know, when they go out and collect excess food and then give it back to the community through a food donation program. So we're supplying them with the boxes that they need for that. And then paper, single-sided paper, we're collecting that, and then the local company that does our printing, our like posters and brochures and stuff like that, they're an amazing company, but they turn that into notepads for us for free. So we just collect our single-sided paper, and because they're doing a lot of printing for us anyway, and they would rather see that paper reused, they're making notepads for us, and then we use them throughout the brewery. On the composting side of things, and again, this is another one of those philosophies. So what's leaving, and how can you bring it back in? So food scraps are leaving the restaurant. I first started looking into composting when I started the brewery in 2006, and there's nobody regionally composting food scraps. So my first approach was, we need a regional facility. I'm not the only restaurant here that wants to compost. After 4 years of kind of banging our heads against the wall, we just said, you know what, forget this, we're just gonna do it ourselves. So we actually invested in our own composting system on site. So we have a hot rock composting system. We've been operating it since September of 2009. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, September of 2010. So installed the hot rod in September of 2010. We're composting all of the food from our restaurant, pre-consumer, post-consumer, meat, bones, dairy, paper, stir sticks, I mean, everything. Composting that on site, and then we are using that back into our organic gardens. So we have a 2-acre garden for our restaurant, growing produce and herbs and things for the restaurant. We also have 11 acres of hops, and we're up to 110 or so acres of barley. So we have plenty of uses for the compost, and we're just working that right back into our fields. This is going to be important. Well, it's great for us now that starting on April 1st, any organization that generates more than 8 cubic yards of organic waste per week is now mandated by the state to divert that from landfill. There's a lot of people that are going to struggle with that because the infrastructure for regional composting is not in place. We still in Chico do not have a regional food scraps composting outlet. So we're ahead of the curve. We've got our system figured out, but everybody else in our region is really scrambling and struggling to figure out how they're going to achieve those requirements by April 1st. So all of this and then some led to our zero waste certification. So the zero waste certification, one of the reasons that we really liked the U.S. Zero Waste Business Council was because it was not just your diversion from landfill. It wasn't just what's your percentage, let's call it good. It's so much more in-depth than that. It looks at the training that you provide for employees, your leadership, it's looking at your purchasing habits, your reduction activities. So what have you done to actually reduce waste before it's even generated in the first place? It's really looking holistically at zero waste and giving you credit for all of those things that actually would hurt your diversion number. So if you're reusing a lot of materials, that's gonna hurt your diversion number. But this certification gives you credit for that because in the hierarchy of zero waste, that's the most important thing, is reduce it before it occurs, reuse it if possible, and then resort to recycling or composting. So we were certified in October of 2013. We were the first platinum certified facility. Josh has since become also a platinum certified facility over a year ago? October 2014. Okay. Over a year ago. Not long already. Wow. I was just last year. Anyway, so we got this certification. It's been really great for us. It was really great for us actually personally and emotionally because we've spent a lot of time on this zero waste program, and to have this level of recognition kind of gave us that push and that shove that we needed to keep going and to take it to a higher level and to continue to evolve our zero waste. On the industry side of things, so the Brewers Association does have a sustainability subcommittee that is part of the technical committee. There are 11 or 12 breweries represented on the subcommittee. I co-chair that subcommittee with New Belgium. Our intent as a subcommittee is to take what all of us have done collectively within our breweries and everybody else in the industry and to really communicate that back out to the rest of the industry. So to impact that change. Collectively come together as a stronger voice. Craft brewers are really, really small in the grand world of beer. But if we can collectively come together and show what can be done as an industry or push for that change that we want to see, that increased recycled content in packaging, for example, or more sustainable options for hops and barley, we'll have a stronger voice if we collectively come together. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you represent a brewery, come and talk to me. I'm happy to help you out. On the Brewers Association website, we've developed 3 sustainability-specific manuals, one on energy, one on water, and one on solid waste. We have 2 more that should be released in the next 6 months, one for construction and the other one specifically for wastewater. These are free. You don't have to be a Brewers Association member to access these. We tried to do a pretty good job of balancing from a brew pub, a small brew pub, all the way up to, like I Sierra Nevada, or Sam Adams size brewery. So there's tidbits of information in there for a brewer of all sizes. So a couple of my lessons learned along the way: educate, educate, educate. Having just conversations in the hallway and just getting this information out there is going to go a really, really long way. Set goals. Make sure that they're realistic. Be totally transparent about those goals that you've set, and then celebrate when you meet that goal. You know, when you achieve what you set out to achieve, have a party, have a barbecue, have a beer. It doesn't have to be super fancy or expensive, but celebrate those. Form partnerships within your community and think creatively, especially in a small community like this. Chico's a similar situation. It's a small community, pretty rural. We're a decent drive from any of the large major hubs for outlets for recycling, for example. So collectively come together, as a community, partner with your neighbors, talk to them. Maybe you can't afford a cardboard baler, but if 5 or 6 of you come together, all of a sudden it becomes economically feasible, and then you can start recovering some of those costs. So partner together. There is strength in numbers, but it requires you to actually turn around and talk to your neighbors. Did I say education? Don't forget to talk about what you're doing. Be totally transparent about what you're doing and talk to everybody about it. And then remember that sustainability is a team effort. It requires everybody's participation. The brewery has 4 dedicated people working on sustainability, but it's really a core function of everybody's job within the company. We can set things up, but if people aren't using it, we're just kind of wasting our time. So it is everybody's effort, even if that is not your job. Sustainability within your organization, consider it part of your job. It has to be part of your job. It has to be part of everybody's job if your organization is going to sustain itself. Fears. So, Maggie, do we want to hold questions till the end after Josh? Burning questions. Yes.
Quality of compost, I can tell you. I read a little bit online before. You guys do, I can't remember the exact tonnage, but it's all your waste for the day. And is the quality of that compost really good? Are you using your own garden? You said that it's pretty high quality.
I would say it's like a B.
Okay. But it comes out quick, right?
Yeah, it's got a 12-day residence time coming out of the hot rod. We let it cure for about another, probably about 6 to 8 weeks would be ideal. So it's stable, but not yet mature. If we let it sit just in a static pile, we'll try it like once a week or every other week. And then it does become actually a really nice compost.
Do you capture any of the methane from the compost to power your facility?
Our composter is an aerobic compost system, so there is no methane out of it. We do have a wastewater treatment plant on site, actually at both breweries, and we are recovering methane from those anaerobic digesters. In Chico, we're using that to offset boiler fuel, and in North Carolina, we're running it through microturbines to generate electricity. Yeah.
I have a few questions.
Fire along.
When you mentioned you have organic gardens there, then you mentioned that you process all your compost release. Use your compost. Do you test the compost in some way?
We do, yeah. We send it in for regular testing. There are restrictions, especially within the garden, because we are harvesting straight from the garden and going from the garden into the restaurant. There are limitations on when we can apply it, and it has to be, I forget the exact time frame, apologies, but there is a limitation on you cannot apply it, X days before harvest.
So it's not certified, right?
No, it's all certified organic through Oregon Till.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Then I was curious how, I'm not real familiar with the zero waste program, but how does your fuel consumption impact that?
Fuel, like vehicle fuel or natural gas fuel or? Fuel injection. So we have different metrics for different things. So we're tracking, for example, our fleet miles per gallon on all of our vehicles. So that's one metric that we're tracking. Biodiesel actually does make that go up slightly. We track our natural gas, we track our electricity, we're tracking biogas use, we're tracking a whole bunch of different stuff.
How often do you take those trash cans and then you just take one at a time?
To do the audit? That's fun. Most times we'll wait until it's like 3/4 full on a 20-yard roll-off and spend all day and just go for it. It takes some time.
How often do you do those?
Our target is to do them twice a year. Didn't happen last year. We only did it once last year. But our goal is to do it twice per year.
And then one last question. How does water
A lot, actually. So if you're throwing away a really wet material, that's really heavy. So if you're tracking that, that's going to make your diversion numbers look really, really bad. I can't think of a wet material that should be going to the landfill. Ideally, most of it would be composted. I'm thinking hops, barley, food, like cardboard should be composted. Yeah, if you're throwing away wet stuff, you're throwing away money because it's expensive to haul that stuff.
Yeah, I'm interested to learn about what you do with your bottles. We have a lot of small breweries, and there's been something come up in the past few years in Missoula, and I'm real curious about that. Every so often, it comes up in a discussion here in Humboldt County. Should we develop some kind of a returnable system? So I just wondered what you.
Yeah, returnable bottles are very, very tricky. In the United States, everybody uses a different bottle. I mean, you can look at that table back there, and there's a couple different bottles back there. So the bottle style is an issue to overcome. So everybody using a different bottle. Then you then have to get all of those specific bottles back to that original brewer. Geography is the next biggest hurdle. So, for Sierra Nevada, for example, is nationally distributed. Those bottles from, Minnesota have to make their way empty all the way back to California. Not really economically feasible. So for us in the scale that we are, returnable bottles does not make sense for us. There's also been a lot of work done over the last couple years on lightweighting bottles. So making them as light as possible. That then, the manufacturer will not guarantee that they can run through a couple times through a filling system because that stresses that bottle. So you do have to be careful on that one. What happened up in Missoula is Bayern Brewing, really cool brewery up there. There's a ton of breweries up in Missoula. If you guys haven't been, it's beautiful. There's a lot of really good beer up there. And what Bayern did, they're German. They came over here and started this brewery several years back. And in Germany, returnable bottles are the norm. That's what they do. And so when they got here, it was kind of frustrating for them. So they actually invested in a bottle washer. They began working with bars, restaurants, and their distributor, and they are collecting bottles. They developed a collapsible cardboard box that they can send out like a whole pallet of these flat boxes. They're filled with the empty bottles, and then they're brought back to Bayern. Bayern sorts them. They're not going to reuse all of, like Sierra Nevada. A lot of us have proprietary bottles. Start looking around, and you'll see, logos embedded in them and things. So they'll sort out the bottles that they can use, and then they run them through this bottle washer, and then they're refilling them. They have since expanded that, and they're now working with a couple different local breweries in Missoula, and several of them are benefiting from this recovery effort that they've embarked on. Now there are some concerns, especially like I said, over bottle lightweighting. So you do have to be careful, if that bottle is not rated to go through a filler more than once, and then it gets into a consumer's hand and breaks, that's a liability, that's a risk. So there's a lot of things to consider, but they're moving it forward, and they've been doing it for probably close to 3 years now. And it's been wildly successful for them. I mean, they have dramatically reduced their operating expenses because they're no longer buying bottles from the manufacturer at all. So it's been a really great program. In an area like this, where you have a lot of breweries in a small rural neighborhood, it makes a lot of sense. So I would consider them as a great model if you're going to look at especially a localized bottle refilling option.
Let's let
Josh. You guys have heard enough from me. Thanks, you guys. say I do have a couple of our sustainability reports on the counter over here. If you'd like more information about our other stuff that I didn't talk about, those are there. I'll be here.